So, Urs, good to be sitting here with you today. We're going to quickly go through what an initial investment meeting looks like. So, an initial investment meeting for our listeners is once they've been on board with us as a client and they have sent the funds into their newly established bank account. In the meantime, we were building a portfolio, and then they get to sit down with yourself or myself and go through an initial investment meeting. So maybe, Urs, you can walk through what that kind of looks like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the initial investment meeting is an important part for the client to understand where it really gets to the investment process, because beforehand it's really about setting everything up, and then with the initial investment meeting we go through the actual investment, through the allocation, where we see where the client stands, where the client's understanding is of the material, of international markets, of different currencies, because oftentimes back in the US they are not confronted directly with this kind of topics. So we're going through the currencies, as I said. So for example, we say, look, the allocation to the Swiss franc might be about 50% in your case. These are the reasons. And then we go one layer deeper and say, okay, when we are in Switzerland, we have equity investments, but we might also have fixed income investments where, if it makes sense. And then we go into the specifics of the companies. But don't worry, I mean, we are only going as deep as necessary to give an understanding, not to bore you. And it's very individualistic from client to client how much interest they put into the investments. So we cover what is the company doing, what's the history of the company, why we have chosen the company, and what we are expecting of it, and also the time horizon for how long we are planning to hold the company or the investment, and then doing that with all different positions. Usually we don't have like hundreds of positions. It's more like in the 20, 30 positions we are covering. And it's also about the time horizon, in a way, how much time it takes to be invested. That also depends a little bit on the market situation where we find ourselves in. I mean, if it's just after a crash, then it might be easier to get into the stocks and into the different investments. But if it's at the all-time high, then it might take a little bit more time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good overview of the initial investment meeting. To add the final thing at the end of that initial investment, we talk about what's the plan of communication moving forward.
Right.
How often will we be reaching out to you to have further portfolio discussions? You know, in those portfolio discussions, we'll talk about how the portfolio is developed, what investments maybe we took on, how things are going, where we see the future. So it's kind of at the end is talking about more communication plans of what it's going to look like in the future. And like I'll tell it now, what we tell all of our clients, to always contact us if they have questions. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's part of the initial investment meeting is an educational talk so that our client understands what they're investing in. It's not just give me control of the funds and just don't ever look at it, don't ask me questions. For us, it's much more about our clients understanding and being able to communicate with us, and we can communicate back and forth so they know what's where they're invested and why they're invested there.
Definitely. Proactive communication from our perspective is the basis of a long-term successful relationship.
Perfect. Thank you, Urs.